Ultimate revenge. My cheating wife and app were caught by a private investigator. Story 1. I hired a pie to find out my sister was having an affair. I am a female private investigator, now based in North America, who was born in a European nation to a very tiny hamlet with a population of fewer than 20,000 people. My brother and I were born 9 years apart from each other. My brother and his wife have been together for more than 8.5 years. They are both in their 40s and do not have children. This occurred around 4 years ago, before to the pandemics. They are both engaged in professional activities. He is a lawyer who works in a well-known cabinet, and she is a practitioner certified nurse who works in the same cabinet. Both have achieved great success. They had just purchased their first house, and she has been off birth control for it then 4 months. Everything seems to be going quite nicely. They were anticipating the birth of their first child towards the end of December 2016. Suddenly, my brother called me on a private phone that was not listed and that was outside of his workplace and home. I was taken aback when I learned that he had requested my assistance in investigating his wife. I took some time off from work and traveled back to my hometown, where I checked into a motel that was close to her place of employment upon my arrival. She had been pregnant for roughly 14 weeks at the time of the interview. My brother revealed to me her job routine at the hospital and at the school. She works as a nursing instructor for a few hours each week. Ordinarily, they get home about 19:00 and leave for work at 6:30 a.m. It was many months ago, from 6 to 9, that she began working longer hours for her lessons, departing early on 3 to 4 occasions each week. The first red flags have been raised. Her friends are her first and most important interest right now, despite the lack of closeness. The second red flag has been raised. When she found out she was pregnant, she sobbed for the rest of the weekend. This is also a red flag. Although he attempted to address the sobbing matter with her, she was effectively giving him the silence treatment instead. With his agreement and authorization, I began my inquiry by checking their phone bill, bank transaction, VAR, GPS put in their vehicles, phone, house camera, and other related documents and information. I conducted a 14-day investigation of her and discovered nothing unusual. My brother and I were debating whether or not to put a halt to everything. I received an extra 15 days off, which I used to see my former high school classmates. During a lunch break, a group of women were talking about a nurse who they suspected of having an affair with a friend's husband, who was away on a business trip and would return the following Sunday. I genuinely inquired as to his identity and the nature of the task he was engaged in. He was representing a huge medical supply company, and he was able to acquire his whole identity. I waited an hour before asking the females whether they knew the name of the girl in order to avoid suspicion. They were unaware of her identity, but they were aware of her moniker, which was similar to my sister-in-law's. The information I received was sufficient for me to confirm his return flight and travel arrangements. My brother called to tell me that my sister-in-law was happy. He also extended an invitation to me for a dinner party at his house the following weekend. I informed him that I had a few items to verify in my inquiry and that I would contact him back. I also sought her day-to-day routine, which included any unexpected changes in schedule. My brother instantly told me that she would be attending a medical conference from Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and that she would return on Sunday afternoon. As a result, she was called upon to fill in for a sick colleague and was required to attend the conference. On Wednesday afternoon, she boarded a train to a bigger city around 625 kilometers away. Unbeknownst to my brother, I was on the same train as him, snapping photos and recording short video clips. After changing clothes and applying makeup in the bathroom 15 minutes before arriving at the office, she was ready to see her assistant principal, App. I was on the verge of not recognizing her. I was taken aback. At the railway station, the lovers were not shy about kissing, groping, and other forms of affection. They strolled together to an upscale hotel in the area, which is not far away. In order to confirm the cheating spouse, I edited a photo and sent it to a buddy, who promptly verified the cheater and told me to return later with additional information for the O. I am successful in obtaining a room at the same hotel. Their names and room numbers were placed on a do not disturb list for a few days in order to accommodate housekeeping and room service needs. I was able to get a room on the same level as the previous one. Because to the angle of the building, I was able to view them while they were on the balcony, still dressed in their bathrobe. When I arrived for dinner in the hotel lobby on Thursday night, I saw them all dressed up and waiting to be seated with his hand resting on her small bump. She was beaming from ear to ear, and she was breathtakingly lovely and appealing. Everyone had their gaze fixed on them. The restaurant was practically filled, and just a few tables were available next to them. We were able to see one another with considerable ease. We were gazing at each other, but she didn't seem to recognize me, though she did seem to be staring at me at moments. I was simply gazing at my meal, my phone, and the videos I was filming. I'm not sure what she was thinking since she didn't recognize me right away. We had not seen each other in the previous 3.5 years. My hair was styled in a variety of colors and lengths, and my clothing was something that I would never wear in a regular situation if the opportunity presented itself. At the conclusion of the lunch, we all boarded the same elevator, and a few seconds before reaching the 5th level and the opening of the door, I began singing a song that I and my brother used to sing in unison. She was gazing at me with a puzzled expression, so I was the one who stepped out of the elevator first and hurriedly walked to my room. I got 3 missed calls from her because I had taken a shower that was too cold. She was constantly in possession of my phone number. She had left a message for her to call her back at a later time. I had enough material to provide my brother with proof of her deceitful business practices. I contacted my brother and gave him an update on the situation, and I will be returning to his location on the next train that comes by. He needed some photos or documents right away so that he could begin the divorce process. My brother sent her images of them kissing on the balcony in their bathrobes, as well as pictures of the lovebirds meeting at the train station and strolling to the hotel holding hands. With the photographs, there is no opportunity for wiggle room or interpretation. I had 90 minutes to catch a train back home, so I packed my belongings and boarded the train. After the train left the station, I had the feeling that someone was gazing at me. Sure enough, they were both sat around 7 or 10 seats apart from each other. I photographed them while they were still kissing and emailed them to my brother and a buddy with a time stamp on them. My brother, and a friend were all waiting for them at the railway station when they finally showed up. It was a complete disaster. Was expecting a child around the same time as my sister-in-law. At the railway station, none of them spoke a word to each other. My brother and I decided to take a taxi back to our house. Her items were being packed at the time of writing. He sent her a text message alerting her of the location of the store where they would be shopping. The SDISDD test came back negative. AP was the biological father of the unborn kid, not him. It took 4 months to complete the divorce process. He divorced her based on the adultery provision in the divorce agreement. 2 years later, he met a wonderful lady who became his wife. There is still no kid. I am still employed by the same legal firm. His ex-wife did not get alimony since, in Europe, if you can prove adultery, the cheater loses everything, including his or her legal and financial rights. The responsibility for child support does not fall on his shoulders. In a modest apartment with her kid, she prepares to leave the country by herself. Her AP was able to reunite with his wife. She has contacted my brother on several occasions, requesting an open dialogue to explain herself. But he has always declined, believing she would never be sincere. She wanted to reconcile with him, but he was adamant about not having any discussions with her. Those were his last words to her as they approached the train station. The divorce petition will be served next week. The divorce petition will be served next week. According to AP, the relationship between he and Paz lasted around 2 years. Story 2. Perfect on paper. Wife left me for her abusive ex-boyfriend. The storyline is as follows. I'm 31 years old, she's 27. We've been married for 5 years and have been together for 8. I'm still madly in love with my STB ex-wife. During the summer of 2018, she began to express a need for separation or space apart. I'll explain why this was a legitimate request. We've been in nursing school since 2016, working towards our bachelor's degrees. Since 2012, we have shared a studio apartment. Basically, we were together 24 hours a day, doing almost everything together. There were a few exceptions. One of us would wander out and do our own thing, but these were few and far between. In any event, the first time she mentioned a desire for space, we discussed it, and her only choice to stay someplace else was at her parents' home. She doesn't feel at ease there, and she didn't like the notion. We then discussed marital therapy. We discovered that marital therapy is very costly and much above our student budget. She informed me about some of the problems between us that were upsetting her at the time. We had too many little conflicts and both of us would get caught up on trivialities. She said that I was controlling and cited 3 examples. I informed her when she could and could not purchase goods, and she felt as if she required my approval at all times. The second issue was that I pushed her too hard to go to the gym and eat healthily. The third was that she felt as if I was speaking to her as if I were her father instructing her what to do. The first 2 were difficult for me since she insisted on having complete control over our money and budget. I had to manage our money so that we would have enough to last us through the summers of 2016 to 2019. In terms of the gym, she expressly urged me to push and inspire her to be healthy. When I questioned her about these 2 issues, she stated I overdid it. Now, I am guilty of speaking of her as if she were a father, I assume. I knew better and did not give her enough freedom. I wasn't fond of telling her what to do, but I now see that I did it often enough to create problems. Being together and doing everything together is quite difficult. We were overjoyed with our marriage. She informed me and everyone else that she loved me more than anything, that she was pleased, and that she knew about our future plans. She'd make up pleasant visions of us doing things in the present and future. Our life was fantastic. She told me that I gave her the finest she'd ever had. Others often referred to our connection as goals. Strangers would cover our bar and restaurant bills. This has happened 3 times. We worked as a team to go from our humble beginnings to finding our true love. We inspired each other to do better. In May 2019, we will both graduate from nursing school. We'll spend a lot more time apart after we graduate. Dumped space. Instead of sharing experiences, we shall have distinct ones to speak about. We'll have plenty of money to go out and do the things we've been missing out on. We won't be as stressed out from school, money problems, and always being together. We'd reclaim our individualism. In the foreseeable future, the actual saga began around the end of December 2018. She has been attempting to create new, intimate pals, but her efforts have been futile. She doesn't speak to her previous acquaintances because of conflicts and destroyed bridges. She requested that she could contact her violent ex-boyfriend via me. They had a wonderful relationship before they dated, and he was the only person in her background who was willing to be friends with her. Naturally, I said no, that's a poor idea. She still did it, telling me that I had to let her make her own decisions. That rekindling of a friendship rapidly became an emotional affair. I instantly sensed something was odd, and we argued over her stopping this connection with him. 3 weeks later, at the end of January, she informed me that she was divorcing and moving in with her parents to give us some space. She said that she had fallen out of love with me and that she needed time to sort herself out. I was sad since she had departed the next day with several of her clothes. Her parents contacted me and we spoke. She had moved in with her violent ex that day and hadn't spoken to her parents until the following day. She also lied to them, telling us just that she had parted from me. I chatted with my SBT ex a few days after she went to find out the truth. She informed me that she had moved in with him, slept with him, and that we were no longer together. I left my place to reside with relatives. My friends and family have been really supportive. Her whole family is behind me and they are fed up with her, to the point of cutting her out. Her previous connection with this aggressive ex-boyfriend has left her emotionally and physically scarred, once leading to a hospital visit. The present, after 18 days, we talked again. She informed me she left because we no longer had a spark and she doesn't see me in her future. She informed me that our relationship was great on paper and that I was extremely kind of her, but she now claims that she was not in love with me for 2 years. She proved it to me and everyone else we know. Then she informed me that the entire incident was her fault and that she deserves whatever terrible things come her way. She has informed our common acquaintances that she feels lonely since none of her friends or family members are there for her. I believe it is clear why no one is rooting for her. She cheated on her beloved spouse and fled her cruel ex. She claims she never cheated on me. She believes that since she stated her want for a separation and then slept with him on the same day and moved in with him, she is not cheating. You'll have to tell me. She claims to love him and be content. The future. I am suffering from PTSD, anxiety, and panic attacks. I put my confidence in her and gave her my whole heart. I wish she had simply informed me what the problems were and how severe they were so he could have worked them out sooner. I wish we could solve things right now, but I know that's not feasible. We were so close to achieving our dream of earning a degree and living a happy life together. Now I have to see her at school every day and feel devastated all over again. My pain is compounded by the fact that she was my best friend. That is what I am missing the most right now. Thank you for taking the time to read my story. Given the circumstances, I wrote it as good as I could. Please assist if you have any advice for me. Story 3. Wife cheated. The whole time. Long story short, not that short enormous wall of text ahead story, bear with me. I have been experiencing major anxiety issues since D-Day, November 16th, since she was having a physical and emotional affair with a person who was meant to be my buddy the whole time. We were married. When we met, she admitted to me that she cheats, and she's gone since her father killed her mother because he suspected she was cheating. She deleted him and pledged to never speak to him again, and we were going to attempt to mend things, which ended in catastrophe since I had zero faith in her and knew I was being tricked, and everyone hasn't received the entire story. She swears there was no, that she never saw it, that she never touched it, and so on. I might have forgiven her since it had been so long, 9.5 years married, 10. But I couldn't forgive her for talking at him the whole time because I believed he was a great man. D-Day occurred shortly as I returned from hunting. My Facebook had been hijacked, and when I got into the messenger, I saw a Switch account light up, so I clicked it suspiciously. I saw her in my account. Now, I've never known her password or anything about her, so I couldn't have signed into her account, therefore she had to have. But in any case, there it was. I clicked it because I had doubts about her faithfulness. I noticed texts from them, leading to him stating she should be more brave in allowing him inside the home since I was gone for the weekend and she had the whole place to herself. He wishes he could be there. I've already told you how ashamed I am of snooping. Finding a marijuana vape in her bag, which she said was handed to her. Then she viewed a video on her phone showing off her body in the tub, moving from her feet to her face, not displaying but her reconstructed chest. I saw her via weird 3 breast cancer, blowing a kiss and winking before the camera moved back to her feet. She said she texted it to her closest buddy in order to feel beautiful. I felt embarrassed to be gazing. I despised how I seemed. I even checked her smartwatch after she reset her phone password to see whether she had received any messages. I saw nudes again, this time without it, to a female she works with, to whom her friend said, "Great view. Want me to come over?" and so on. A few days later, her female buddy asked WWW if she wanted to be devoured. I woke WW up and told her I wanted to ask her a question. She came in one morning and was dissatisfied. I inquired whether she still wanted to be devoured. "What does she do?" So I'll say it again, what she exclaimed. "No." Why, I answered, "Well, you did at 8:30 tonight and I figured I could assist you with that. If you saw her face you puke." So I inquired how long the lesbian affair had lasted, which she denied until ultimately admitting she had placed such messages on there knowing I would check for them. I told her that she disgusted me. Either she's suddenly bi or whatever, which is okay if that's what she wants, but if that's not the case, she was attempting to use my anxiety issue as a weapon. Anyway, you all reached out and provided me with much needed assistance. Responding to your mails helped to relieve my anxiousness for a few days. Then I began filling out divorce paperwork. Anxiety increased, perhaps knowing it was the beginning of the end after over 15 years together. I've been doing well, and I'm beginning to feel as if I don't care what she's doing. I feel less anxious knowing she'd be gone all evening while I was at work and I'd stop spying. Even though I knew she had erased everything, I still had to check her watch when she would leave it out. When my worry would become unbearable, I would remind myself, it doesn't matter whether you're getting a divorce. It was very awful today. I simply got a horrible sensation all over. Because my anxiousness is psychosomatic, I've been feeling queasy all day. Tonight after work, I played video games with co-workers since it distracts and distresses me. I felt an intense need to glance at her watch as soon as we called it a night. I became obsessed with the moment at which I felt driven to look. I literally couldn't stop myself. I noticed a handful of texts from the girl that I'm not sure WW saw. If not, she'll find out very quickly that I looked, or she'll say them and leave them for me to torture myself with. Her girlfriend informed her that they had agreed to be friends with benefits, and that until the divorce was finalized, there was nothing else for them to do except hang around and smoke cannabis. Perhaps other drugs as well, debt, stress, etc., but no longer that WW is being too demanding, behaving as if they're in a relationship and she couldn't handle the added stress that she loves her. But WW is overbearing. I'm not going to murder myself. I never do anything like that to my friends or family, but I don't want to wake up. My non-anxiety afflicted acquaintance continues urging me not to worry and so on. I'm not sure how. Our finances are not in a position where either of us can walk away. We're compelled to coexist until the home sells. I also have deep-seated self-esteem problems. I'm seeing a therapist, but being able to count on one hand up. Many times I've had in the previous 7 years as a 35-year-old guy is depressing. Previous infidelity as a teen, getting broken up with on April Fools over speakerphone, and so on all had a role, but being informed she's not that attracted to me. Then using post-cancer as a reason not to, completely wrecked how I felt on the inside. I know it's only been 2 months, but based on what many of you have mentioned, it will most likely take years after leaving her to feel normal. I'm not sure whether I can do years. I'm not sure I'll ever trust a woman again. I'm unable to eat. I can't sleep for more than 5 hours at a time. I'm able to function at work because my family and friends speak to me every day, and my boss is one of my closest friends, and as his team leader, I'm given some latitude. I apologize for publishing such a large wall of words. Perhaps I'll put it at the top. Anyway, I'm just hoping that you nice strangers would assist me in the same manner you did previously, since this is killing me. I informed my friend that she's still twisting the knives and I'm a who continues staring. So I'm simply giving her more blades. Even if you don't leave a remark, I appreciate your time. You don't have to like me since I'm not searching for karma. This is what I'll leave you with. Today I had a shower idea that explained everything. She's a prostitute and I was partner number 60 or 70 or whatever because she claimed she felt like a piece of meat and a toy for years when she was younger. So she behaved like it. I believe she basically banged everybody she needed to in order to obtain what she wanted. She stopped when she discovered she could get what she wanted from me without having. In the initial event, the individual was a small-time marijuana dealer. She doesn't recall why she was at his house. Well, I believe it was to him for free cannabis, just as it is today with this female. I believe that is also evident in the most recent texts.